What's happening, Manesh? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Michael?
I'm super excited to be back on here again. Always learning more from the great man yourself.
Where's that great man?
I knew that was coming. But man, I do appreciate it. Look, Manesh, I'm gonna jump right into it, man. I managed to put together a retirement fund, and I'm looking at more long-term trades. But the thing is, there's so much stuff out there, and I would really love to know how to narrow it down and maybe zoom in my focus on what to focus on instead of getting wrapped up on so many stocks. You got some advice on that today?
Are you just looking, or I guess my question is, what are you looking to do? I mean, do you want to know like what stocks and instruments to trade? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much out there. There's so many instruments, so many, from currencies to cryptos to stocks. Just I mean, it's sometimes it's overwhelming. And you go through hundreds and hundreds of. I mean, maybe there's another way I can just narrow it down and find a better way to narrow down my list of stuff to look at
Okay.
as far as my
Well,
focus.
believe it or not, it comes down to preparation. And believe it, you should sit there and know what instruments you're going to trade for the day, the week, the month, and so forth. A lot of people think that's hard to do, but it's not. A simple technique I'm going to show you now, which I use at the end of the month going into the month. Going into the month, it tells me exactly what instruments to look for in which direction. So then I could sit there and take those instruments and pump it into my system, any time frame, any instrument, and so forth, and look for setups. You could
Okay.
even stick to the monthly time frame where we're going to be looking for these signals and so forth too. So let's get started. I'm going to show you a simple concept here. Do you see the chart, Michael?
I do. Euro USD, and we're looking at the monthly.
Yep. So we're going to begin with currencies, then I'll evolve into cryptos, and then I'll evolve into stocks. And the
Okay.
reason why I want to begin into currencies is that it's a decentralized market. So it's very hard to manipulate that market at all. And a lot of people think that it's so random that you can't do predictions or forecasts and so forth. Do you believe the same thing?
No, or I wouldn't
Nope.
be trading.
Well, so here is a TNT bar. It's called TNT. I named it after my kids because it's a very powerful tool. The TNT bar, it's this black bar here. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
Notice one thing. I made it black. Why? I do not want you to know the direction of that bar at all. Do you see
Okay.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The key thing here is that when this bar is present, the next bar tells you there's a high probability something's about to happen. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
So this is a timing element here. You have to wait for that bar to close. Once the bar closes, you have this TNT bar. This is something I've been publishing on social media, all the social media for over a year now for various different instruments and various different times. And I've been talking about this TNT being a timing element. And all you have to do is you could go to any instrument class worldwide, currencies, futures, crude oil, gold, stocks, Indian stocks, US stocks, Europe, anything. And one thing you could do is go to the monthly time frame and find when a TNT bar finishes. You okay with that?
Yeah. So this is through your website, right? The IMTF trade
Well,
scanner.
you could scan yourself, or we have a scanner which basically finds the TNTs for you. So at
Gotcha.
the end of the month or beginning of the month, I always run a scan of the TNTs that basically finished up. The bar finished last month, and basically I have a list going into that month on exactly know what to trade. For example, this is December. We're about what, 17 days into December. At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of December 1st, I ran the scanner and I found all the TNTs on the monthly time frame for currency, stocks, and so forth. And that gave me a list to sit there and trade this month. So that keeps me focused and so forth. Now, you're going to scan on the monthly time frame. Doesn't mean you have to trade on the monthly. You could sit there and look for setups on any time frame at all, but it tells you there's a catalyst here and there's high probability something's going to happen. You okay with that?
Yeah, yeah. So on
So
that list, did you end up trading all that list, or is it just narrowing it down and then you still go through and make an even more narrowed down decision based on the look of the chart?
well, everyone has their own trading plan. Everyone has their own unique technical system and so forth. We're not here to sit there and change anyone at all. I just want to show you that you could sit there, have this list based on this TNT, and I'll show you proof with a lot of charts in a minute on what you do and basically have that list, you know the direction, and then you could pump it for your technical system. You good with that?
Yeah.
So let's look at a whole bunch of instruments and find the TNT bar and then look at the next bar and see the actions that occurred. Remember, this is something that's not fake. It's not words at all. We're going to be able to look at a whole bunch of instruments on a monthly time frame, any instrument worldwide, and you could find the TNT and look at the next bar and you could see exactly what it did. Proof of concept, right? And
Hmm.
if you want a simple technical system, what you could do is right here for the Euro USD, it had a TNT bar here. And then all you have to do is as soon as it breaks the high or low of that TNT bar, you could sit there and enter. So a simple technical system with no other technical system at all off the monthly time frame is you enter maybe a couple of points above the high right there and use the middle of the body of the TNT as your initial stop so you know your exact defined risk and basically enter. You would have entered here. Your stop would have been halfway of the body right there. That's your initial risk. And at the end of the bar, this has to close positive. If you're negative at the end of that bar, then you close out your position. You always want to close positive at the end of each bar that you trade. Then what you could do is you could keep the system simple and keep on trailing a stop using the previous bar low or high with a little buffer. And if you did that after this bar finished, this bar begins, you use the stop right there. When that bar finishes, right here, this is the current bar, you would use the stop right there and then you go forward and then you could have been stopped out here right there for a nice little profit. So you would have entered here and exit there. Many different ways you could trade it, but this is just a pure simple system. I'm just showing you here off the TNTs. So as we go for the various instruments, don't use your technical system. Just use this simple system where basically as soon as it breaks the higher low or the TNT, go and
Gotcha.
sit there and start using the previous high or low bars and you can see exactly what happened. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So if you look here, you would have entered right there. You would have trailed it going all the way up. Then another TNT bar occurred here. This one was a little funny because look, it exceeded the low of the bar and exceeded the high of the bar. So this actually did both inner bar here. But if you sit there and keep focus and look at the natural trend, you can see that the natural trend is bullish. So at that point, you would not sit there and try to go bearish here at all. Okay, you could. If you do, then you could sit there and you would have got out for a little loss right there, and then you would reverse the trade and or get out for a little loss right there. Then if it exceeded the high, you get back in here, and then boom, you went up. So you could sit there and take this bearish here. You would lose a little, and then you could take it bullish here within the same month and go from there. You're okay with that?
Yes.
So this is Euro USD. You can sit there and look at any instrument at all. Let's show you some instruments that popped up on the list this month. So here's Australia, New Zealand. You have a TNT here. And you could see here, exceeded the high here. And if you sat there and got in the high right now, you would have entered it at 77.24 and you're right at 78.60. So you got about 140 point profit already right now. Um, let's look at some others. Let's look at Australian CAD. Some people view this exotic. Here's this one here. You could see it opened here, then it went down, then it came up here, entered here at roughly about 96.26, and you're about 50, 60 pips profitable right now. So you could see the movement here that it's gone through. Let's look at Bitcoin. You got a huge Bitcoin hit 20,000 plus, 22K plus. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's simple. Look here. This is April 1st, 2020. You had Bitcoin right there, exceeded the high right here at 93.93. So the TNT was telling you May 1st was the beginning of basically the Bitcoin starting to go up, then went up, another TNT printed, and basically in October it broke the high, and since then we have not looked back at all. That's
Yeah.
Bitcoin. You can look at some crypto coins. Ethereum is one I like to trade. You could see here exhibited the same behavior here. You have a TNT, next bar you entered, you did well going all the way up. Another TNT, you would have entered going all the way up. Okay, here's a one here. Here you would have entered here going all the way up, and then depending on where your stop is and how you managed it, you probably got out close to break even, or you took a little loss here. Okay, so one thing you can do is you could optimize that system I just told you is once you're profitable, change your stop to break even. You got nothing to lose. At the end of this bar, if you're profitable, change your stop to break even and let it ride. If you did that here, you didn't lose anything at all. So you didn't
Yeah.
lose anything here. You basically got in here, right there. Over here, you would have got out if you changed your stop to break even. So this is where that can sit there and catch you. This is why I always like to sit there and use the previous bar low, because sometimes you have these little fluctuations that can happen. But some people like to change their stop to break even. Some people like to use the previous bar low. I personally think that if you're going to take the TNT system and use a basic price action, you want to trail with using the previous bar high or low, and that's the best method. You have to have some risk. You have to give it some breathing room to go forward.
Okay.
Let's look at another instrument, WBA, that was on the list right here. You could see the TNT right there. You could see the price had gone down there. Let's look at Apple, famous Apple. I'm sure you heard of Apple, Michael, haven't you?
What was that again?
Apple, yep.
Look
A
at
lot of people
that.
been wondering about Apple. When's it going to go? There was a TNT here. Didn't exceed the low or the high at all in the month of November. So we sat there, did nothing. November, another TNT printed at the end of the month. And finally, it got above the high here at 122. And now you're up $6 and some change right there on that one. Let's look at Facebook, the ugly one here. Now, this is a little interesting here because you could see here, there's a TNT here, and basically right here, right there, you entered right there, and then it came back down here. And if you're trailing with the previous bar low, you're still in this trade right now. Yes, you're a little down, but you have your defined risk and so forth, and slowly it's creeping up. So with that system I just gave you, which is a basic system, you could sit there and you're still in this trade, you're down, but this is slowly going up. And remember, I just gave you a basic technical system. There's many ways you could sit there and optimize this. Is there anything you want to look at?
Um, as far as another TNT in general, or
Yeah, just
just
any
a
instance.
stock? Man, come on, everybody loves Tesla.
Tesla.
That's those Robinhood
Famous
boys. They love
Tesla.
that
Let's look at
Tesla on
Tesla.
Robinhood.
There's Tesla right there, Michael. You
Wow.
could see here, April 1st right there.
Yeah,
Before the
right at the
split, basically it was
right
telling
at
you to
the
get
right when
in.
COVID
Before the
hit the
split
hardest.
right there, 167. Even after the split, everything was still valid going forward, and look where you're at. So basically you sit there in Tesla, you would have been at 163, and you would be riding this thing all the way up, because if you look at it, it never exceeded the previous bar low at all.
Mm.
So you basically would be triple, quadruple on this one going forward. You know what? Let's look at Airbnb. Just got released.
Yep.
So that's there. That's monthly. There's not much data there. But I want to show you something. Airbnb got released when?
Last week, I believe it was.
Just this week.
If not the first part of the week.
And look what happened. You had a TNT bar on the first 4 hours, which was not good on the release at all. And then look what happened. The next bar did not exceed the low at all. But you could see that TNT dictated the low of that bar of that TNT and the high of that TNT bar are basically support resistances. You could see once we broke that support right there, we went down. And then look what happened. We came right here, held it exactly at that level right there, and then finally broke it. So this is the critical level right there for support resistances. And you could see how well these TNT works, even on something that has no history or anything at all. And that's unbelievable. I mean, a lot of people can't believe it, but it's proof right there.
Yeah. Wow.
You want to look at some exotic cryptocurrencies?
I mean, that's what everybody's crazy about. It's the new gold rush.
Yeah, it is the new gold rush. Let's look at something. You know what? Let's look at some of these funky ones. I don't even know what half of these are. This one's got a lot of TNTs. You could see going in and out here. Not much data on this one here. Let's look at this one. TNT right there. Little upward movement. Not much. Litecoin. You can see a TNT right there this month basically. Oh, I'm looking at the 4 hour. Sorry. Should be looking at the monthly. Right there. There's your TNT right there.
No, it's a small one.
It's a small one. No TNTs on this exotic cryptocurrency. Over here exceeded low. Didn't go much at all, but that's, oh well, you're not going to win everything out there. There's Bitcoin Cash. Really didn't do much here. You kind of got out of break even or a little loss on that one. What was it? Z coin, I think. Zcash. I think this is the latest craze that a lot of people have been looking at. This one didn't exceed the high or low. It finally started doing it right there. But in lower time frames, you actually got a TNT and it helped you move up. There was one here in April that did follow through and going up. Remember, nothing's foolproof at all. Here's one here, went down, and then look what happened. As soon as it sat there, came back to this level here, broke above this level. So there's other ways you could create other trading systems based on these TNTs, because right here, it went down a little and then broke above. If it breaks above, you could stay bullish in this trade here as long as this support holds going forward. Okay. So there's many different ways you could use the TNTs going forward. Any questions, Michael?
You're quiet, no, that's man. Pretty cool, man. I mean, it's pretty neat, man. It's almost too simple, Manesh.
You know what? It's simple right now, but trust me, this TNT is over 10 years in the making and going forward. Here's the E-mini. A lot of people think E-mini. If you look here, E-mini, May 1st, we broke out, went bullish, bullish, bullish. Then you had October, and then look what happened here. You basically broke out last month. After elections, you broke out. And since then, we haven't looked back. And so here is the point right there, long-term retirement accounts. You talked about retirement. Right there was your signal right there that the markets were going to go bullish right there, 35.54 going up. And if you sat there and entered there, you would be up about a little less than 200 points right now.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Here's another one. I love this one. A lot of people didn't even see this one.
Copper.
Copper. No TNT here on this one, but there was one on the lower time frames here, roughly right there on the lower time frames. So that basically triggered this upward movement right there.
So it works on every time frame.
You could even go down to a 5-minute, 3-minute, and so forth. We actually scalp and day trade E-minis off 3 minutes and 10 minutes, and you could see the TNTs there. Here's a TNT on gold. You never think in gold. Look at the gold. This didn't occur right away, and that's kind of why it's consolidating. Ideally, you want the next bar to break the high or low of
So
the
so
TNT.
that
If
higher one you wouldn't have got entered on
this
entered
one
you wouldn't
here
have
didn't
entered
really
into.
break the low of the TNT, so you
Yeah.
after that you're kind of ignoring it. You're not looking later at all. You want it to break on the next bar like this one here, broke the high, and then look what it did. Went up with vengeance.
So it's
Crude
basically
oil.
you want some
Sorry?
volatility in it. You want some volatility behind it.
You're gonna have volatility. Remember, you can't control this market. You can only take what it gives you. Over
Yeah.
here, you exceeded the low here, right there, and then it went down a little and didn't do much at all. Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay, so it did there. If you sat there and surround the TNT high and low,
You're about to go to the lower time frame?
no, there's your range right there. Look, broke
Mhm.
above the high right there. If you sat there and entered right there, as long as price stays above this level here, you could go bullish long term on crude oil.
So you're almost using it too as key support and resistance levels?
Yeah, you can. There's many
Okay.
ways you could slice and dice that TNT bar. I started off in just showing you how you look for the TNTs to know at the end of the month to know exactly what instruments to trade the following month. Because the second bar, the next month, you have a high probability of it moving. And that's what you want. You
Okay.
want to trade instruments that basically move, that do not consolidate. If it's moving, now you got a high probability to sit there and get a good reward risk ratio. And that's what the TNTs give you, the ability to know when you got a high probability scenario when the next bar has a high probability to move.
Boom. That's exactly what they do. Take
So,
off.
so at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, the very first thing I do is run that TNT scan, and I got a list of currencies, futures, stocks, everything to sit there and trade. And the simplest thing you could do is go for that list, put an alert at the high of the bar, put an alert at the high of the TNT, alert at the low of the TNT, walk away. And then when the alerts get triggered, boom, tells you where you should be trading.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's a great way to narrow it down and just and know what to focus on. Exactly
Well,
what I need.
it started because in the institutional world, when you're trading on the trade desk and so forth, you sit there and you start, especially if you're trading stocks, not currencies, stocks, you have to scan tons of stocks. And what
Hmm.
used to happen is, even though we have scanners, it still won't tell you their models and everything. So at nights, we would have to go for the S&P 500 and go for each chart on a particular time frame and look for our signals. It was exhausting.
Man, that
And
sucks.
sooner or later, if you start looking at a whole bunch of bad charts, you don't know what a good chart is anymore. And your mind becomes a big mess. So it's just sets you up to fail. So if you know what your good chart looks like and you keep focused on a couple of instruments, you have a high probability of winning and getting consistent profits.
Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. Narrow down to the TNT,
Yep.
wait for it to break, the high or the low, and then basically use the wicks at the end of them as your stop, right?
Well,
And as long
let's
as
keep
they
it
are,
simple. Let's keep
mhm.
it simple because everyone has their own technical system, right? Let's keep it simple. Find a TNT bar that's closed. The next bar, look for a signal, a trading signal with your trading plan to sit there, go bullish or bearish. That's it.
Okay,
It gives you a
easy
list
enough.
of stocks, currencies, and so forth to to trade for the month. You could do the TNTs on a weekly basis. That tells you exactly what instruments to day trade for that week. You could
Wow.
go down to a 4 hour. So you could literally look for TNTs on any time frame, and it gives you preparation to sit there and trade those instruments on the next bar.
Okay, sweet. Well, Manesh, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking your time to show me this. I look forward to jumping all over this and putting to work, man.
Oh, anytime, Michael, man.
Well, look, man, ready for the next one. So let me know. We'll get back on and we'll keep it rolling, man.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, man.
All right, boss. Thanks, man.
Bye.